I think after the election, if the Conservatives lose that, there will obviously be a battle royal, but it will be, if you like, sublimated through the leadership contest. And the Conservative Party is a very leadership dominated party. So whoever manages to actually win that contest is going to determine the direction of the party. In some senses, irrespective of the balance of power within the parliamentary ranks.
So, will the popcons make much of a difference? And what does it say about the Conservative Party, the fact that they've got yet another splinter group? Joining me now is Tim Bale, political scientist and writer of several books on the Tory party in its various guises. Tim, hello and good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Just thinking of the various conservative groups, splinter groups, families that we could refer to, the CDO, the Conservative Democratic Organisation, the Northern Research Group, the New Conservatives, Common Sense Group. Is this just like a throwback to what we used to get back in the day with Margaret Thatcher's time, the Bruges Group, the Bow Group, the No Turning Back Group, or is there a real gap that they're trying to fill?
Well, I think there is more of a fragmentation in the Conservative Party than used to be the case. I mean, you referred to Mrs. Thatcher's time, and there we were talking basically about the wets versus the dries, and even that perhaps was overstated. But now we have seen the Conservative Party splintering into a number of these groups. It has to be said, though, that some of those that you reeled off, the National Conservatives, the New Conservatives, the Popular Conservatives, the Common Sense Group, they are all very much based around the right wing of the Conservative Party. And in fact, many of the memberships of those groups actually overlaps. So I think we can perhaps even then overdo the fragmentation that is occurring. But we are basically seeing, if you like, a breakdown of the coherence and perhaps the discipline in the Conservative Party.
Nigel Farage seemed to suggest that the embattled minority of MPs, I think only 10 of them turned up to the launch of the popcons, they represent the base more accurately than the Tory party in Parliament. How true is that?
Well, I mean, we do surveys of the Conservative Party membership, and I think it is true to say that the membership, this is the grassroots, if you like, probably do have a fair amount of sympathy for some of the things that the popcons, so-called, were saying, particularly when it comes to issues like anti-wokery. And also, obviously, many Conservative members would like to keep taxes as low as possible. Having said that, actually, when you look at surveys of the grassroots, they are quite concerned about public spending and about austerity going too far. So I think we can overdo the extent to which, if you like, authentic Conservatives at the grassroots level necessarily buy into the Liz Truss agenda in the way that Truss and others suggest.
And what do you think all this manoeuvring tells us about what might happen following a potential Conservative defeat at the next election? Which direction do we think they're going to go in? Because let's remember, the One Nation group itself has over 100 MPs in the parliamentary party, and they would not be happy with a major lurch to the right, would they?
No, I think you make a really good point there, actually. The so-called One Nation group of more moderate Conservatives is actually quite large. It's just less vocal than some of the right-wing groups that we've been talking about. I think after the election, if the Conservatives lose that, there will obviously be a battle royal, but it will be, if you like, sublimated through the leadership contest. And the Conservative Party is a very leadership-dominated party. So whoever manages to actually win that contest is going to determine the direction of the party. In some senses, irrespective of the balance of power within the parliamentary ranks. Very often, the centre of the Conservative Party will just knuckle down and get on with whoever the leader is. And if that leader is from the right, then I think we can probably presume that the Conservative Party will head in a rather, if you like, populist radical right direction. So it will emphasise the anti-woke stuff. It will press hard on immigration. It will look not to get any closer to the European Union. And it probably will campaign on a more low tax, low spend kind of agenda.
What do you think that they will deliver the next Tory leader? I mean, it's not going to be Liz Truss, we don't think, but Kemi Badenoch, I'm not sure how popular she is with them. She tries to demur from any attempt to link her with these groups. And what about the intellectual coherence of what Liz Truss and Mark Littlewood, who used to lead the Institute of Economic Affairs, are offering?
Well, I mean, as to the intellectual coherence, it's an interesting one because in some ways they are very liberal, very libertarian, but they've moved towards a much more restrictive position on immigration, which in some senses is a little bit illogical. I mean, as for who's going to win the leadership, I mean, you're putting me on the spot there a little bit. I think probably Kemi Badenoch is still in prime position. I think she's been quite canny at the moment, professing loyalty to Rishi Sunak because clearly it's not in her interest or indeed anybody's interest. I think in the Conservative Party to take over before an election they look like they're going to lose. However, what we are seeing is the candidates, as it were, showing a bit of leg to potential supporters. I think it will partly depend, obviously, on how many Conservative MPs are around after the next election and the makeup of the parliamentary Conservative Party. But it will also depend on the membership. And in as much as we know who the membership are big fans of at the moment, again, it would be Kemi Badenoch. And I think it's also true, probably, that Kemi Badenoch is probably seen as sensible enough by the majority of Conservative MPs, whether they're from the right or not, to be able to do the job. And I'm not sure that's the case, for example, for someone like Suella Braverman.
Mm-hmm. And as the Labour Party moved to the right, dispensing with many of their signature pledges, might this not open up a space for a popcorn or a Labour version of that? It used to be called Momentum. They're a bit quiet these days. What do you think? Might something else emerge?
Well, I mean, I think if we do get a Labour government, almost inevitably, we find that they tend to disappoint the left of the Labour Party, and you already have, the Socialist Campaign Group, for example, in Parliament, and as you say, you've got Momentum. So I've no doubt that if Labour doesn't deliver what some people would like a Labour government to deliver, in other words, much higher spending, for example, probably finance from taxation as well as borrowing, there will be some disappointment on the left. That's inevitable. All parties in the UK are to some extent coalitions because we have first past the post. So Labour is a broad church, just as the Conservative Party to some extent is a broad church. So yes, I mean, I would expect there to be some, if you like, factional manoeuvring within the Labour Party if Labour get into government.
All right. Tim Bale, thank you very much indeed for giving us the benefit of your wisdom. Thank you for being with us on Times Radio.